Hello and welcome to Stamp with Julie Baum. I'm Julie and today I am showing you a card that we made at Stamp Club. This is from May of 2024. It's a beautiful card with some beautiful colors and elements, and I'm going to show you step by step how we made this. All right, so we did start with a thick piece of white cardstock for our card base. This piece measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches, so it's still only half of a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, but it's cut the other way. So instead of cutting it in half the short way, I've gone the long way. So there you can see 4 1/4 by 11. Then it's scored and folded at 5 1/2 inches. So this is our card base. And then we are using one of the in colors that has just been introduced this year in 2024. This is Summer Splash, and it's a beautiful kind of bluish green color. So I have a piece of cardstock in Summer Splash, and then I also have this piece of designer series paper. This is from a packet of paper called Unbounded Beauty. The stamp set that we'll be using is called Flowers of Beauty. All right, so those two products work very well together. So this piece of our Summer Splash measures 5 1/4 inches by 2 inches. And what we did is we went ahead and used the Distressed Tile 3D embossing folder. So when this was just a strip of paper, let me show you, like this, all right, then open the 3D emboss folder and lay it in there pretty straight. It's kind of a random pattern, but it will look crooked if your paper is really crooked. Close that, and then we ran it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to end up getting this beautiful piece. Okay, now our piece of Unbounded Beauty designer series paper is 2 1/4 inches, so just a little bit wider, and then also by 5 1/4. All right, and then let me show you how we're going to attach those to our card base. So the reason that we went with a little bit wider on the designer series paper is this. These two pieces are going to go on the front of the card. And what I have found, because I've been doing several cards recently where the pieces need to come together, I feel like if the two pieces need to actually come right up against each other, sometimes that seam is not very attractive. So instead of doing it that way, I made this piece a little bit wider, so it's actually going to go over the top of this piece. Now, it still essentially makes them look just about even, but I feel like that little bit of crossover makes for a smoother transition instead of trying to butt the two pieces up next to each other. So the choice is yours, but that's why we did it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my embossed piece of cardstock to the card base. And I'm looking at my top, bottom, and side borders to get them about the same size. And then I'm going to come in with the designer series paper, slightly overlapping my embossed piece and lining it up again at the top, the bottom, and the side with relatively even borders. All right, so let's get that piece in place. Okay, so besides those pieces that I've already talked about and given you the dimensions to, then you're also going to need a pretty good sized scrap of white cardstock. So here's my scrap. You're going to do a couple things on this piece. Okay, we're going to do some stamping. We're also going to do some die cutting, all right? And at one point, we'll do a little fast forward because I have prepared this ahead of time just to help keep us without going too long. So now I'm using Petunia Pop, the ink pad, and stamps from Flowers of Beauty. And I'm starting with this flower, and it is a 2-step stamp set. So I'm first going to stamp the outline using my Petunia Pop straight from the ink pad onto my white cardstock. We're going to need 2 flowers, so we'll do that twice. I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between, even though I could certainly have stamped this closer to that, but these are going to get die cut, and so I don't want them too close because I need room for that die. Then I'll take the second image that goes with that same flower, and I'm going to ink it up with Petunia Pop. And then this is a fun trick. If you're newer to stamping, you might not have seen this before. If you've been around, you totally know this. What I'm going to do is get the ink on my stamp, then I'm going to stamp it onto my scratch paper once, and then I'm going to stamp it onto my project paper. And what I'm going to get is a lighter version of Petunia Pop. So by using one ink pad, I get a dark and a light. Let's repeat that process. So straight from the ink pad, but instead of full strength, I'm going to stamp it off on scratch paper and then stamp it onto my project piece, and I get the lighter version of Petunia Pop. Now the other thing that I'm going to stamp on here is the word thanks. And I want to tell you about this stamp set. I'm looking for the stamp. Oh, here it is. I want to tell you about this stamp set because this is a new stamp set, and I think this is going to be the absolutely essential stamp set to have because it's got the basic sayings that you're going to use all the time. Thank you, thinking of you, happy birthday, thanks, hello, birthday wishes, just a note. I mean, you're going to be reaching for this time and time again. At Club, our card was made using the hello stamp, and so I'll show you that one, but I'm going to go ahead and use the thanks stamp this time. So still with Petunia Pop, and I'm going to stamp it over to the edge of my piece of white cardstock, my big scrap here. And the reason for that is we're going to do some die cutting. This is going to get laid onto here with the words kind of over to the edge, as you see, and that's going to get die cut. I'm also going to use this die to cut out the flower, and then I'll have to do it a second time to cut that one out. So here's our fast forward. Here is the piece that I had already prepared and stamped and die cut. All right, so there's our flowers and there's my thanks. So we'll use these elements to put our card together. Now, besides that, I had one more piece of white scrap. You can see here, and I used another die from that same stamp set and die bundle and cut out that element right there, and you can see it's right here. It's really a beautiful die cut. All right, so now we can put our card together because we've got all of our pieces. Oh, we have one more, and let me mention this at the same time. So I have a piece of white glimmer paper, and I'm using this die, which looks a lot like this one. These dies are from the die set called Nested Essentials. I have been using these a lot. I like these shapes, these rounded rectangles, I really like. So we are using the smallest, and actually there's 4 of these, okay? So there's one here, we're using the next one smaller from there. Then there's a third size, which I'm gonna use on a different card today, and then the smallest size. So I used my white glimmer paper and ran this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and this is going to give us our rounded rectangle with that beautiful glimmer paper. All right, now we can put our card together. We've got our parts. I'm gonna embellish this card in one way, and then at the end of the video, I'm gonna show you a different way. So you might wanna stay tuned to just see the option that I use at the end. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick dry fit here to see where all my pieces are going to go. This is roughly going to go there. I want to make sure that it fits and isn't going to hang off of my designer series paper. So that's going to go right about there. This thanks is going to go centered onto here. So we're going to put that on in just a moment. And then our flowers are going to be the little accent pieces like so. All right, so I can go ahead and glue this one into place. The best way I think for this is to just go ahead and use your liquid glue. You can find the larger areas on the back of the die and just kind of ignore the smaller areas where it would be hard to put glue. So I'm just looking for these larger spaces, and it's going to hold the die cut in place just fine. All right, those are pretty delicate. It's going to be hard to get glue there. I'll put some there. Okay. All right, kind of at an angle, up fairly high. And there we have that in place. Okay, let's put the thanks onto the glimmer tag. And only because this is a little bit textury because of that glimmer surface, I am going to use some tear and tape instead of my liquid glue. So I'm just going to use a couple pieces of tear and tape on the back of my little thanks piece. All right, and then an easy way to release that backing tape is to use your take your pick tool just to get it started. Okay, and this can now get attached and it'll hold very well. You could also use your seal, your Stampin' seal, to attach this if you don't have any tear and tape handy. Okay, I'm going to flip that over and press it. I just want to make sure, look, I have a little ink. I don't think it would come off, but I don't want to make any smears on the front just in case. So I'll just flip that over and press it. All right, so to attach this to my card, I'm going to do that with some dimensionals. So let me take a peek again here where this is pretty much gonna go centered on the card between the right and the left. And let's grab some dimensionals. I'm gonna go ahead and use 4, just one in each corner. You might be tempted to put a 5th one in the middle, and that would be totally fine. I don't think I need it, so I'm gonna just stay with my 4. All right, this is ready to go. Right about there. All right, and you notice that I purposely did my words a little bit off center. That's because I already had in mind that I'm gonna want this flower here to kind of drop into that space. So I left room for it to do that. All right, now this is going to kind of hang off here. There's 2 things that you could do. You could either not worry about it. I'm just gonna add my adhesive here and leave it alone. Or if that was concerning to you, you could put a dimensional only on this side and then your flat adhesive here, and that would work as well. I'm not gonna worry about it. I just like that it's kind of hanging, and I'm gonna put enough adhesive in this area to hold it. I'm gonna again reach for my tear and tape because I'm sticking it down on 2 layers of cardstock plus that texture. So I'm going to use my tear and tape and rely on it for that extra sticking power. You know, I think now that we're talking about it, I'm going to even add a second little piece right above that. All right, since the rest of my flower is kind of hanging off in midair, I want to make sure that this is stuck down really well. Okay, so this one is going to go here, and all my tear and tape is holding on nicely right there, so that's not going anywhere. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to drop this one down in this corner. So I think I'll do that other method in case you're not able to imagine what I'm talking about. So this part only needs to be flat with my adhesive. This part could use a dimensional since it's sticking up. as I mentioned, I didn't worry about it here, but just to show you what I mean, I'm going to go ahead and do it here. So right here on this part of the petal, I'm going to put a dimensional. And on this area, I'm going to use flat glue. So that could be glue or tear and tape or Stampin' Seal. Just something without being popped up. Now you know both ways to do it, or if you're making a different card and you've got those levels and you're trying to manage them, you'll understand the idea of putting flat adhesive on part of the element and then a dimensional on part of the element. All right, get all of my backings off. Okay, so the flat part is going to go there on the tag, and my dimensional is right there. And now it's a nice even level because we did flat and then we popped this side up. Okay, there's our cute card. I think that the inside needs a little something. So a strip of this paper would be a very nice touch. But since we've already got our stamps and ink out and haven't even cleaned them or put them away, let's just add one of our flowers here on the inside. It's fast, it'll dress it up. I'm going to ink, stamp off, and then onto my project. Like so. Now our inside is pretty. Okay, let's finish it with some embellishments. I'll show you my first choice, but I'll also show you a second option, which is the way that we did it at Club. So these two 2024 to 2026 in color resin dots are super neat looking. They are matte or flat, so they're not shiny, but the colors are beautiful. And they are the in colors, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Petunia Pop dots, and I'm going to use 3 of them on this card. So I'm going to use a large one up here, and I am looking for kind of a flatter area of the textury part. I'm not choosing a real thick textured area. All right, let's put that there. I mean, the color is perfect. Look at how pretty that is. And then I'll use a small one over here. And then we have a decision to make because I can use my third and final either right here on the tag or down here on the paper, creating kind of a triangle shape. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here on the paper. Second thinking, second guessing. Yep, here we go. Okay, so that's beautiful. I would love to encourage you to use these little in color resin dots, but let me show you another option. In case you don't have the dots, or the reason that we did this in Club is I have way more rhinestones than I did dots. This was my only pack of dots right now. So because of the number of dots that we would have needed that day for all the Club members, there were enough. So we used rhinestones, but let me show you or remind you, if you've been around a while, how you can add color to your rhinestones. So what I'm going to do, well, I'm going to leave this little backing sheet in place so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to lay my rhinestones here in front of me, and then I'm going to use my Petunia Pop Stampin' Blend. So I'm going to use the brush marker end, and with it still on the little backing sheet, I'm just going to color the rhinestones. And now I have Petunia Pop rhinestones. It's such a simple thing, but so effective. So I do encourage you to color the rhinestones before you put them on the project, because some of the ink might kind of go, it's not that it drips off, but like as you're coloring, you might get ink on the background piece. So you don't want that extra ink going onto your card. All right, so there we have our colored rhinestones. And in the card that I'll show you right now, that's what we used. We used colored rhinestones. All right, here's that one, and they're very beautiful and quite effective. And now you got to see the other option where I put one here instead of down here. All right, so that gives you two different examples. You have the thanks or the hello, and you have the resin dots for embellishments or the colored, custom colored rhinestones, which you see there. So thank you so much for watching the video today. I will put some information for you in the description box below this video, and that will help you with a current host code as well as dimensions of my pieces of paper and also some ordering information. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy stamping.